So this morning, I have the pleasure to introduce Liz Harrington, Assistant Director of Data Analysis at EdPlus, Shelley Segal, Data Analyst near ES Information Systems Development at the Herberger Institute, Jennifer Mellerich, Executive Director, Academic and Global Engagement, and Dan Hart, Associate Director, International Health, Safety, and Security at the Study Abroad Office. Liz is today on EP term session and EP term view. Shelley is speaking on what's new in EdPlus Dashboards, and Jennifer and Dan are discussing maps and legend and introduction to the Study Abroad dashboard. Please help me welcome Liz, Michelle, Jennifer, and Dan. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Sandy. I'll get started. I just want to touch on this. As far as I know, Shelley Segal is still an analyst on my team over at EdPlus. And if you've moved over to Herberger, I'm going to be pretty upset. So my presentation today is about a table and a view that we developed over at EdPlus, primarily developed by Josh Johnson and Emily Ice, and that we use all the time. So the tables are EP term session and EP term view. Get started. We generated these tables to have a quick resource to decode STRM or term code values and term ses code values into more easily discernible values. You can find the table and the view in the ASU DW schema of Data Warehouse. That's ASU PM Prod. Additionally, this table incorporates many associated fields and dates. So things like session start date, tuition reimbursement deadline, census date, so much more. It also includes categorizes sessions and terms into academic year, calendar year, fiscal year. It includes short descriptions, long descriptions, numeric equivalents, and so much more. So we'll get into the fields. This I touched on a little bit in a presentation yesterday, which is how term ses code is generated for enrollment records. The examples up here, these are term session codes. It is a concatenation of STRM, the session in which the enrollment took place, and the letter C. And typically, this AC-BC time period represents that C session enrollments are duplicated across both A time periods and B time periods. Occasionally, you might see 2207 AC and 2207 B without BC. What that means is that C session enrollments are only captured in the A time period, not in the B time period. So that's just a bit about session. So we do have a table and a view. So the table is EP term session. The view is EP term view, which contains only the term-based fields of EP term session. So if you're looking to, if you're joining to more traditional data sets that are based off of term granularity, you would use EP term view. For to join to session-based granularity, you'd use EP term session. Because EP term session includes all of the fields that are in EP term session and EP term view, I've chosen to showcase the data in EP term session. So as you can see, there are tons and tons of fields within this table. I'm just going to highlight a few. And I've also got some sample data we could look at in case you're wondering what the actual values of these fields are. Anytime you see DESCR or SD, SD is short description. So term session DESCR would be Fall A 2020, written out. Term ses SD would be FA20A, all concatenated in short form. So it would look like this. Okay, back to the presentation. As you can see, there's a lot of references to census in this table. This does reference the EdPlus 21st day of the session, not institutional analysis census, which particularly in summer is quite different from what we look at EdPlus, so just something to know. The term ses num field is something that I get a lot of use out of. As we talked about, the term ses code is a combined numeric and so it isn't strictly a number. So term ses num assigns a number to each of the sessions, which just allows you to more easily, for example, sort things in the order in which it occurred. So sometimes sorting alphabetically, for example, if you were showing on a dashboard a description of enrollment by session, and you wanted to sort those descriptive fields numerically, you would use the term ses num to do so. It also helps with calculations as well. Term ses difference, something I also get a lot of use out of. It is another numeric value that represents the relative nature of the session. So let me see if I can find it here. Okay, so term ses difference. So the current session will always be 0. This is extremely, extremely helpful from like a dashboarding and reporting perspective. So if you want a report to always show the current session, or perhaps always show the most recently completed session, you would just hard code this filter in the background to term ses difference equals 0. And for all of these metrics, we also have just a term equivalent as well. So if you're interested in just the term version, not session, we've got an equivalent field as well. So right now, the current session is fall B because, well, we're in fall B. The current term, so where term difference equals 0 would be fall 2020. And then the prior session, so fall A 2020 is -1, -2, etc. Again, really helpful from a reporting perspective. Okay. So I mentioned we've also got the term equivalents in here. So term description would just be fall 2020, term SD, which is just the term short description, so it would be FA20. Season is fall, spring, summer. Again, really useful from a reporting perspective. Term code is how we've chosen to rename STRM. So STRM and term code are equivalents. If you're joining to any term-based other tables, you'll join on this field here, term code. These +1 fields, that pulls the term ses code or term code of, oh wow, I'm over already. Wrap up here of the next term session. So in this case, term ses +1 of the current session that we're in, which is 2207 BC. So the next session is spring A. So that would be 2211 AC. I just want to encourage you guys to check out this table. There's so many convenience fields, if for no other reason than just pulling in descriptions more easily, so that when you're showing leadership reports and they say, oh, okay, what are these term codes? I don't know what these are. It's just really easy to join in one table and be able to pull in those descriptions if you don't have another source already. So that's it for me.
Next up, we have Shelley Segal, and she'll be talking about what's new in EdPlus Dashboards. Shelley?
Thank you. So it's actually EdPlus Dashboard in this case, because we are showing the student onboarding dashboard, and that is lovingly referred to as the SOD. Please note there's a D and not a B, so when people look at it, they're hopefully not crying. The purpose of this dashboard is because we have, and I'm sure you have multiple stakeholders, and they have this habit of looking at different dashboards and coming up with different numbers. We've tried to develop a dashboard that leadership, marketing, and operations can all look at, which means they all will be looking at the same numbers, which cuts down a great deal on time trying to reconcile numbers from different dashboards. So I'm going to try to do this in actual time, so we'll see if that is a good idea in a minute. Our main dashboard, our main page is called the Student Onboarding Dashboard. And what it does is it shows information based on the top of the funnel. One of the reasons I wanted to actually show you this, oops, we went to the wrong one. Wanted to show you this was because we had this very clever way of having multiple variables. And if you'll notice, there's a definition of what that variable is. And we figured that would help everybody understand what it was they were looking at. However, we also discovered that once you get past like 10 variables, the load time increases a great deal. So that was a bit of a problem. So the table had to be redone. So it looks an awful lot like this. It looks similar, but it doesn't act the same. You can see that there's no definitions there now, just the basic information. So the way this works, because we want to see the full view of the student's journey from RFI all the way down to whether they made it to census, and we're trying to see what the conversions are along the way. You can change the top of the funnel. So in this case, we have RFI. It still takes a bit of time to load, so I'm trying not to do that. And each top of funnel has the year and the months that are associated with it. In addition, we have a level of detail. So if you wanted to see all the RFIs, then you could switch to the application level of detail. So if someone had 5 RFIs, it would be reflected in the data. However, most people want to look at the student view, one record per student in the timeframes. Additionally, we have a number of filters, and each of those filters also reflects only what the top of the funnel is. So in this case, if you chose a corporate partner, it would be the corporate partner that RFI'd, or the or the college that they RFI'd to. So all this information on this page keys off of the top of the funnel. Then to get a better view of the conversion, we allow you to start somewhere and someplace else. If you want to see the detail, we can give you the individual, in this case, days, or we can show you the compact view, which hopefully will go fairly quickly, to see some groupings on how quickly someone converted, in this case, from RFI to app submit. The next page we have is, and this happens to be my favorite page when I was developing it. I just watched things move up and down and made sure that they moved and changed. We have 3 different type of calendars and a last 12 months. So obviously the regular calendar view starts in January, our fiscal year that starts in July, and Starbucks is a big user of all our data. So they have a special year, and that starts in August. So we have an August view. And then we have the last 12 months. So what this allows you to do, in the case of the last 12 months, we have to have a dashboard view of all time, but you can define where your last 12 months ends. So you can just change the compare date and everything will adjust. The other thing you can do is change to a calendar view. And what all time will do is give you in the beginning, the calendar view time frame. So from January to December, an all-time view will show you everyone that made any stage at any time. Whereas the year-to-date view, hopefully this will just take a minute. The year-to-date view allows you to decide how far into a year you want. So if you want to compare apples to apples, like if the current year is only on, say, November 18th, you can set your compare date. So each of the years that you're comparing to will ensure that anything that happened in that time frame happened before November 18th. And as you noticed, you have to choose the years that you're interested in. In this case, the filter is keyed off of where people are currently in the process. And the last page we have is yet another view of our data. In this case, we have only 3 calendars: the calendar, fiscal year, and Starbucks year. And basically, these are comparisons of the stage that the person hit and what month they hit them in. So it's not based on where you started on your funnel or or where you started on the funnel. It's just strictly based on dates. And in this case, you can go from the actual count to the running total. So we're giving people the ability to compare year over year. And this is year-to-date information. So that's pretty much what I've got.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have Jennifer and Dan discussing maps and legend, an introduction to the study abroad dashboard.
Okay, thank you so much. So now for something completely different. So we wanted to just take a few moments to highlight a new dashboard that has been developed between the Study Abroad office and UTO. We've had a great partnership, and Haley is our developer. She's on the session here today. So within the Study Abroad office, we, just to let you know, if you're not exposed, this is International Education Week across the US, and ASU is a top sending school, sending students out on study abroad programs. And we haven't previously been able to make our study abroad data available to our wider data community here at ASU. We could on demand, but it wasn't previously in the warehouse and able to be accessed by anyone. So we have made that change. So all of our data is coming from our internal systems within the Study Abroad office and is in the warehouse and able to be connected to various student information through PeopleSoft. And we're rendering that here for you today. So the point of this dashboard is to give
data consumers within the academic units and perhaps in EOS, different student engagement offices across the campus, the opportunity to see who's going abroad, where they're going, what programs they're going on, how many of their faculty are participating in our study abroad programs, that sort of thing. So we have some really nice visuals. Here you can see, I particularly like on the right-hand side of your screen, users or participants by college. So you can see the volume here. The majority of our students are coming from the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, which is no shocker there. But journalism, Dan's highlighting here is 1,800 students, 1,852. We've got a nice, healthy showing from business. We click on journalism. Let's see here.
Let's go to Ireland, shall we?
Ireland, okay, great. Over on the left-hand side, you can filter by map location. And so see who's all going to Ireland and on what different programs. There we go. And now we get down into the individual student data. So this is where we're pulling in that PeopleSoft data from their academic plan stack, as well as the program name and the program type over here on the right-hand side of your screen. You can see the city and the country, whether or not they were an honors student, the term they went abroad, that sort of thing. Okay, Dan's gonna filter by program name. Is that what you're up to?
Yeah, I was just gonna demonstrate that we can sort by.
Yeah, different things. Excuse me. And so we find that a lot of students go abroad on programs that are not sponsored by their individual college. And so that's, I think, really interesting from the college perspective. And so you get to see what are your students trying to study or where are they going? And that might make a difference into what programming you from your individual college would like to see. Okay. There are a lot of filters. So you can source. So we've tried to make this really user-friendly so that you can drill down into individual majors, individual names, countries, programs, application status, see if there are a lot of canceled or withdrawn applications, for example, where students are Barrett students. Dan, let's go ahead and look at the travel registry information as well. So. Gotcha. We also run through the Study Abroad Office, the International Student Travel Registry. All students who are participating in international travel, even outside of the Study Abroad Office, are required to register their travel with the Study Abroad Office and purchase overseas health coverage. So this is a new-ish policy, but it captures a lot of students who are going as individuals. And many of these are graduate students who are going to either participate in conferences to present their research, to do their field work. They may be going to do their research, to collect data. And so here you can see the purpose of travel column, where we're able to capture that information. And so this has been a lot of data that has for years been fairly elusive to the institution. And we've just started capturing it, I think, about 2 years ago. Is that fairly accurate, Dan? About 2 years ago within the travel registry?
Yeah, even a little less than that.
A little less than that.
Which is why these numbers are dramatically lower than the study abroad numbers, obviously.
Right, right. Where we've been running programs for decades and decades. So this is also available to you and your colleges. It is a hope and a dream of mine that one day we'll be able to do some sort of retention analysis and engagement analysis on these students and see whether or not there is an effect on the retention and the persistence of our students based on global engagement activities and participation in some of these programs. So this is kind of the first toe dip in the water of us getting this data out to the wider data community here at ASU, and I'm excited to see what we can do with it in the future. This is what we would consider this an MVP, and we're looking forward to further iterating on its utility and functionality in the future.
Yeah, and Jennifer, this is still in its draft form, so I'm not sure that it's available yet to anyone, but it should be in relatively short order. And one addition that we're hoping to include is an export function where we might be able to include additional details that are not really convenient for display in this format.
Yeah. We're also, as a side note, working on a separate project called Global Scope within the Provost Office that's going to provide a much higher level presentation of global engagement activities at the institutional level, including like sponsored projects, research, different partnerships. So that will be more of a 50,000 foot view that will not have this level of individual student data. And that will be available on another website, but this data will feed up into that site as well. So that's coming fairly soon. Let's say we hope by the spring semester.
I believe that's all we have, everyone.
Yes.
All right. Well, we did have a really nice comment in the chat that from Emily. I don't personally have a need for study abroad data, but this is very cool to see. I totally agree. That was way cool. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Liz, Shelley, Jennifer, and Dan. If there are any other questions, please go ahead and put it in the chat before we close this session. Again, the slides to the presentation will be posted on the conference website. If you need that conference website, let me know and I'll put that in the chat too. And don't forget to claim your badges. The links are in the agenda section for the conference website. And if there's no other questions, thank you very much and have a good rest of your conference.
Thanks, everyone.